How's it going, everybody? Rob here, back with another video, and, well, we are going to be doing another video. This time, however, kind of focusing on, well, a new channel that I've been kind of curious to touch on. I'm gonna look at some of their earlier stuff first, and then go on to the current stuff. This is CheshireCatStudios. Now, initially, this was a channel where you have like a group of people discussing various topics. And regardless of, and this is, I want to say, because so far they haven't posted anything new for almost, I want to say 4 years, maybe longer than that. But no matter what the topic, they gave their opinion, and I would say it was, to me, it felt unbiased. Like they would just, give their opinions and then go from there. And it wasn't just like political topics. They discussed things. Well, I would say there was some politics to it, but that wasn't like overtly the thing. They talked about video games, talked about movies, stuff like that. And honestly, with a bit of comedy to what they did. So with this one, I figured I'd look at their earliest video, like very, very, very earliest video. Mortal Kombat Legacy/Rebirth. Official Cheshire Cat Studios podcast episode 1. So, from what I've heard, there was a little bit of technical stuff in terms of like audio and everything. So I'm kind of curious. So let's go ahead and get right into this. Okay. I gotta say, I'm gonna say right now, and for some reason, my audio is not going. Good thing I caught that early. But overall, like right off the bat, I gotta say I like their logo, their channel logo. Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, everything. I feel like I'm gonna have to mute some of this. Oh my gosh. Ooh.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cinemax, and welcome to the first edition of the official CheshireCatStudios podcast. Thingy. Now, as some of you might already know, for the last couple of months, we at CheshireCatStudios have been keeping a close eye to Kevin Tancharoen's latest internet series, Mortal Kombat Legacy.
I gotta say, like, I mean, because I know they use animated avatars and everything later on, but I will say it's interesting to see this kind of style again of like how content is made, where using different stills to kind of illustrate each point you're making in the thing.
And since a couple of weeks ago, the show, or at least its first season if Wikipedia is to be believed, has come to an end, we have decided to get together and discuss what each of us thought of the series as a whole.
Oh, that's right.
Please welcome me, amateur film critic and creator of Mockbuster Mockery, Man, the immortal founder of CheshireCatStudios and co-creator of Dante vs. Rao, and Star, the indispensable hostess of Silver Screen Podcast, as we discuss what else? Mortal Kombat Legacy. Enjoy.
Just out of curiosity, hold on. I wanna switch over to my webcam view real quick. And do they have all of their stuff over here? Okay, so I'm kind of wondering if their channels are still up. Silver Screen Project. Huh. Weird. For some reason, my internet is not allowing me to access those websites. That's weird. Actually, if anything, hold on. Do one up and look it up on my phone. Because I'm kind of curious if they still have stuff up. Because if anything, I may want to check out some of their stuff eventually. So, Silver Screen Podcast. A lot of different channels called Silver Screen Podcast. Jesus. I'll have to look it up later, but okay, that's a popular name. Okay. Let's go back to the video. I'll look it up later. I gotta say right off the bat, that is a big-ass hamburger. Okay. What was your initial reaction to?
Okay. By asking, what did we think of when we first saw Mortal Kombat Rebirth, not Legacy, Rebirth?
Huh? Can I just? I never had the opportunity to watch Rebirth. Like, I know that Legacy and Rebirth were a thing, but I never actually brought myself to watching it. And mostly because I mean, me personally, I know I'll be listening to their points, but I heard a lot of bad things. Like, if I recall, it wasn't that good. It didn't seem faithful to Mortal Kombat. I mean, it had it to an extent. It had some of the elements, the fighting, the blood, gore, like you would see in any Mortal Kombat game, but it didn't feel like it was. Other than that, there was a lot of people just, for some reason, didn't like the way a lot of the characters looked. And I guess the story was not that great. Again, from what I've heard.
Oh, that's what I wrote.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going off of.
I loved it. I first found it on YouTube because a friend had it uploaded, and like I said in the forums with this discussion, that normally I'm a bit more anal about them keeping to the original whatever, but I didn't mind the more realistic approach that, Kevin was doing for this, and it was very interesting. I was curious to see what was going to happen. Had it been a film release, I would have definitely gone to go see it, if nothing else, just to see how he made that realistic.
Well, calling it realistic is kind of, I don't know, misnomer or something, because you still have Baraka with the blades coming out of his arm, so it's not exactly realistic. It's grittier.
Well,
so it's gritty, but it's not necessarily realistic.
Yeah.
But I still like the new direction that they're trying to take with it, because I've been following Mortal Kombat ever since it first came out. I mean,
oh my gosh, those old cabinets.
Mortal Kombat nut, and I haven't stopped. And the central story behind the first Mortal Kombat, at least.
Okay, 500 years ago, the annual Shaolin tournament, long the most prestigious fighting tournament in the world, was interrupted by the appearance of an old sorcerer and a strange four-armed creature who entered the tournament and defeated the great Kung Lao. This Shokan warrior was the half-human, half-dragon fighter named Guru, who became the ultimate fighting champion for the next 500 years. This was all part of Shang Tsung's plan to tip the balance into chaos and help Outworld conquer the fourth realm? Earthrealm, sorry. Subtitles, sorry.
Is almost a ripoff of Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. I mean, there's not a whole lot of story in hardly any of the Mortal Kombats to date.
Yeah.
So taking this entire thing in a whole new direction is, I mean, the door was wide open for this kind of thing. And I was interested seeing what Kevin T. I can't pronounce his last name, so you have to, excuse me on that. But I totally just wanted to see what his version of Mortal Kombat would be. And, as long as it's not a rehash of the 1995 movie, then I was all for it.
Yeah, that movie. Oh my gosh. I will say some parts were good. Don't watch Annihilation. Like, if you guys are ever interested in, like, watching the old school, like, Mortal Kombat movie, go ahead and watch the first one. It has its flaws, but it did its job. Just don't watch Annihilation. Your head will hurt. It will.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I guess it's my turn then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright, so in my case, I first discovered Rebirth something around last June, when pretty much every single major entertainment media-related website was buzzing about this new, mysterious, short Mortal Kombat film, and how, it took this basic premise of Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon that the Mortal Kombat game series was based on, and took it into a completely new, never-before-seen direction. And I've gotta say, I absolutely loved it. In my opinion, Rebirth did what no other previous live-action Mortal Kombat adaptation could ever hope to achieve, and that's given Mortal Kombat some actual depth, and that's why I absolutely loved Rebirth.
Okay. What was your opinion on Legacy then?
Moving on to Legacy, well, of course I was excited when I heard that they were gonna make a continuation, but let's not give away my final thoughts right now.
Let me guess, it
Agreed.
sucked.
So, actually, right now is the best time to start discussing Legacy, because, I mean, I'm not trying to undermine you or anything, but, that's what we're leading in with this. I mean, our first impressions of Rebirth were pretty unanimous. I mean, it was something new, it was gritty, it was cool, and we
Why was that
discussed
Smurf buff?
what we got out of it, which apparently wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
No, in comparison
Like, why
to
were they
Rebirth,
buff?
like we bashed in the forum that it's not what we expected, and actually a little disappointing in my opinion.
A little.
Yeah, a little. The thing about Rebirth is in the 10 minutes it told a short story. And aside from like the Johnny Cage episode 3, and the Raiden episode 6, I believe, none of the other episodes accomplished that at all.
Agreed.
It's just it's a sin because everybody was so hyped with Rebirth, and then Legacy came out, and what I was thinking originally was that okay, he's going to continue from the Rebirth trailer we were given, especially when I saw White, the guy who played Spawn, and the chick is Sonya, and I'm like, oh, okay, so cool, so he's just giving us more of an intro, and then we're going to get back to the trailer, and then we're going to do the whole Scorpion Sub-Zero thing.
Same here. I'm still mystified why didn't he just continue the Scorpion versus Sub-Zero fight from Rebirth.
Right, but during KT's interview with I think it was Crash or Crush or something.
Crush, okay.
He won me over on his unique vision of Mortal Kombat because he really laid out the groundwork of what I wanted to see in a Mortal Kombat movie. He made a lot of comparisons to like the last two Matrix movies and how the first Matrix movie was great because it kept the fantasy elements kind of to a minimum and stuck kind of close to telling a story. And he was going to keep things like fireballs and characters like Sector and Cyrax out of his new series because he felt they didn't feel realistic enough. And of course that got shot to hell after the first freaking Legacy trailer.
Dang. I mean, like I said, I never had any opportunity to or motivation to watch Legacy and Rebirth. I probably should, but I will say their takes so far, like their takes are like really thorough on like what they feel like or at least how they feel about it, I should say. And who knows, by the end of this, I may end up watching Mortal Kombat Legacy and Rebirth. What were your biggest issues with the series?
Yeah, I think if anything really ruined the series, it was like the 12-minute time frame that they have to make these little short videos in.
Yeah, it says it's 9 12-minute episodes.
Isn't this around the time, like, because I'm trying to remember, because I think this is around the time where YouTube was still doing the whole, like, videos are, like, very limited to how much time that you can put on your video. So, like, I think it was, like, the max was, like, 15 minutes originally. So, it's interesting to, like, I'm trying to collect my thoughts, but I would have to say around that time, unless I'm wrong, unless I'm wrong, where it's not around that time, which case, yeah, they should have made it longer at least.
Right, and it's not enough time to really tell a decent story. I mean, the exceptions, of course, are Johnny Cage, because the Johnny Cage episode 3 was a self-contained story. And, it's about a movie star being down on his luck and getting screwed over by his producers and his agents and stuff. And people can, easily relate to that and see where what the story's about. And, it was also interesting. It was a complete twist on the Johnny Cage Mortal Kombat storyline canon. Because, if you ever played the new Mortal Kombat game, Johnny Cage is a prick.
That old geezer's the final challenge? They might as well give me the belt right now.
I mean, he is a total and utter cunt. I mean, he's...
I mean, I'll be honest, that's pretty much how he is in, like, a lot of the other media, isn't he? I mean, especially with, like, the old school movie. I mean, he's kind of, like, full of himself.
Just, egotistical maniac, the equivalent of, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme with a massive ego.
Oh, yeah, I'm so pretty. And I'm taking you down, I'm taking you down, I'm taking you out, I'm taking you out, and I'm taking you out for dinner.
But here he's completely downtrodden. He's on the end of his rope, and he's funding $50,000 out of his own pocket, kind of mirroring KT's own thing with the $7,000 budget that he had, investing it strictly out of pocket. But Johnny Cage was investing this entire thing out of his own pocket, and the studios kept on screwing him over, and that was just something new. I mean, that's what Legacy and that's what Rebirth is all about, being something new that we haven't seen before, taking really two-dimensional characters. I mean, not literally like pixel characters. I'm talking about really cut and dry stereotypes, like
God, Twilight,
Bruce Lee knockoff, etc. Taking 2D characters and giving them life. I mean, that's what film is all about, and I don't feel that that Legacy even came close to accomplishing half of this. I mean, like I said, the only exceptions are Johnny Cage and Raiden.
I think also everybody was just so wrapped up with Rebirth that's what we were wanting, that's what we were expecting, and then
there's audio issue.
It's broken up into that.
Right, but not everybody was really wanting the Rebirth thing, because I mean, the fan outlash on Rasta Baraka was pretty intense. But it was just still something new. I mean, making Reptile a cannibal with massive disfigurements, that was I guess I don't want to use the word realistic though, but it was gritty, and it was something that took Mortal Kombat in a whole new direction.
It was different.
That's why I called it.
Like it's different. I mean, I remember them doing that. It's like, to an extent, they almost went for not realistic. I mean, if anything, kind of like oh gosh, I'm trying to like think of a good example. Kind of like what they were doing with like the Dark Knight trilogy, where it's a gritty, almost real, like if in this situation where you have a man dressed up as a bat running around, how close to reality can we make it? Which again, this it was something that they were trying to do with, or at least what it seemed like they were trying to do with the Dark Knight trilogy. Mortal Kombat Legacy and Rebirth, at least from what I saw from the trailers, did something close to that, where you had certain characters in some way or another tie into a realistic thing. Like, again, the lizard being human, but having, birth defects and becoming, a cannibal, as they just mentioned.
Realism, because it wasn't, a ninja from another dimension, it wasn't an alien, it was technically supposed to be a real human who just had a birth defect and happens to eat people. So, and I know we were still up in the air about how they were going to make Raiden, for lack of a better term, realistic with the whole lightning thunder thing.
Oh my gosh.
And, the Raiden episode is not realistic because, it's just like, I think the Cinemax, Max here said that, it mirrored a lot of like a Thor comic about, Thor falling to Earth and being sent to an asylum because he was a self-proclaimed god of thunder. But to me, that episode had a lot more substance than, say, like, Jax, Sonya, and Kano episode, which really kind of frustrated me to the point that they didn't even introduce the character of Curtis Stryker by name until episode 2. I mean,
I
it's
had
just...
no idea who it was. I didn't even know who it was until you guys pointed it out.
I know, he could have been credited as fucking Commissioner Gordon for all we fucking... and we would never fucking known the difference until, second episode, and it's like, Stryker, get over here and shoot this asshole. And it's like, oh, you're Stryker, okay. But, it's just this level of absolutely horrible storytelling. I mean, they don't introduce the characters to people who have no fucking clue what Mortal Kombat is. They don't give, character motivations. I mean, Sonya, if you ever watched the original Mortal Kombat movie, Sonya is fucking a one-track mind. She wants to kill Kano, and that's it. But this Sonya, what is she doing? I mean, she spies on Kano, and that's like everything she does. I mean, there's no drive for the character. There's nothing really about these people that makes you either want to root for them or see them get the shit beat out of them or anything.
Yeah.
As far as like introducing the characters and explaining who these people are, I've theorized that you have the hardcore fan following. These are people who know who these characters are, their history, their background. So based on that assumption, there's no need to introduce all these people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that, yeah. I mean, to an extent, more likely with all of the again the core fandom, they're gonna be watching it. They're gonna be like, okay, so this guy's Kano, this guy's this. So it seems like it's kind of formulated for the core audience, even though to some extent. I want to say with media, from what I'm hearing right now, in terms of a good adaptation, it needs to be presented in a way where both old audiences, fans and everything, as well as new audiences can come and watch it. Because especially as time has progressed, you're going to have more and more people you're going to have more and more people that aren't going to know the media. So you have some people looking at, Mortal Kombat, I've never heard of this. What is this? To some extent, you're going to have, I want to say, unless they watch somebody playing the game, you're going to have quite a few people who grown up, let's say in the early 20s, not even know what Mortal Kombat is. I would have to guess. Or early 2000s, I should say.
Yes, but it's a different universe. It's, I don't know, Tanjiro universe, or call it whatever you want, so some introduction would be nice.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, like I keep saying about the Stryker thing, I mean, nobody knew who the fuck he was until episode 2. I mean, it's at least throw us a bone here and call people by their names, in the first episode. But it's just, I don't know, where Rebirth had, a good direction, and it had the makings of a really, really, good episode, as far as story goes, and, some characters and all that kind of thing. I mean, you knew who Scorpion was. I mean, not immediately, but you kind of got an idea of how dangerous he was and his affiliation with being an assassin. And the handcuff thing in Rebirth. I mean, he drops the handcuffs. It's kind of cliche, but it was awesome. As far as Legacy goes, I mean, Legacy was just absolutely
disjointed.
Exactly. I mean, there's no way to tell character A what their motivation was and whatnot. I mean, it was horrible.
No, that was from RoboCop. And it always sucks when you have a piece of media that is kind of disjointed. It doesn't have any, like, connecting. Sometimes it doesn't help that it doesn't have a connecting story. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it like a lot of times it doesn't though. Let's see. What did you think went wrong?
So yeah, the question was, do you think the decline of views went down because everybody was expecting Rebirth, and then when they found it wasn't doing that, they just lost interest? Or do you think it was because they're viewing it like CheshireCatStudios has been, and, you know, is looking at story, characters, editing, fighting, etc., etc.?
Well, if you ask me, it's probably both of these factors, because while I'm pretty sure that some people were simply disappointed that Legacy was no way near as complex or engaging as Rebirth, I've also seen certain comments berating the creators for half-assed writing. You know, like how the Kitana and Milena episode did an absolutely craptastic job at introducing all the supernatural elements, or you know, how the second part of the Scorpion vs. Sub-Zero fight pretty much turned into a crouching tiger hidden dragon without even a warning.
Yeah, I agree. One of the major problems is the web series, The Dirty Do-Gooders. They have, you know, a couple thousand views for their first episode, and then it kind of trails down from there. And I think that's just normal for a web series. I think is to have a lot of initial views, and then people just, you know, trickle out. So I think that might have been a factor, but I do think that a lot of it is the fact that people didn't exactly get what they expected. I mean, I guess people just didn't.
I mean, it's understandable.
I mean, there's no other explanation to go from
what the fuck is this shit?
1.5 million down to a couple 100,000 in the next week, and it keeps on kind of going down from there.
I'm also curious how many people like bothered to watch it on their own, or they were just going on like reviews.
Well, I remember.
I mean, at this point, I'll admit. I mean, I'm watching their reaction to it. I haven't watched it, so. I probably should have, now that I think about it, but overall, like I said, from reviews and what other people were saying, there wasn't any motivation in me to go and watch it.
At the start, the first two episodes, they were also plugged to death by video game websites like Destructoid and Kotaku, but then they just stopped bothering. So there was a lot of people who just watched it because it was popular, not because they really cared.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
That sounds... Hold on, what was that? What was that thing? What did it say? Hold on, go back.
Video game websites like Destructoid and Kotaku, but then they just stopped bothering. So there was a lot of people who just watched it because it was popular.
Okay. Sounds... Okay, so it says on the bottom, sounds familiar, doesn't it? That's great.
Or not because they really cared.
Hype.
Yeah.
Good catch, Max. Because that actually makes total sense. They hyped up the first episode, and then everybody and their mother saw it because it was so widely, you know, advertised on these websites. And then after that, did they ever bother, you know, publicly releasing or announcing episode 2, 3, 4, or any of those?
No, I don't think so.
I only found out of the new episodes when you guys posted it on the site.
Oh gosh.
But wasn't it, was it Kenny who said that he like just forgot about the whole series?
I think that was all of us.
No, he said that he dropped out something around episode 4 or 5 once again, the nefarious Melina and Kitana story.
Yeah, I think that I remember Ramin Zeems posted that picture of Spider-Man standing triumphantly on the.
And not a single fuck was given that day.
Exactly.
Because or the.
I love that phrase. Not a single fuck was. You know, I'm gonna say this like. That whole like, you know, not when somebody says, excuse my vulgarity, but with you know, people like the comedy of like people saying, you know, I don't give a fuck or I can't give a fuck, the lengths people will go. I think my favorite one is where you have a person in like an open field be like, look, this is the field where I grow my fucks. See that it is barren, for there are no fucks to give. Stuff like that is always very humorous.
the whole waiting for the last episode too. He's like, oh, I completely like forgot about it or something like that until you brought it up.
Well, the worst thing is about the last episode is they waited a whole fucking month to release the stupid thing just so that they could, you know, plug it at Comic-Con. I can understand the marketing tactics they're trying to use, but it was just a damn long wait for a web series that people just started not giving a shit about.
Yeah.
It just was disappointing because this episode wasn't worth the wait.
No.
Well, it had cool effects, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, and the fighting was good, but the reason why it's
Iron Man
is just so
music.
they could sell DVDs. I mean, that's what the month thing in the Comic-Con was all about, is, you know, announcing season 2, which is coming, and announcing DVDs, which I don't ever see how that could ever fly, because you want YouTube for free, and unless they add all these scenes that explain everything, it's not going to be worth $20.
I don't know if they're gonna do a second season. I'm not noticing anything about a continued series.
I heard that they were going to, yes.
This has been going on since April. April 11th was the first episode.
Damn long time.
It looks like he was doing it about every week. And then the last one was May 30th, and then we had to wait until July 24th for the Cyrax
Say what?
Episode. I was staring at the title. I saw both of them. It just merged.
I am Sexter. Sexter, I'm gonna use my special, you know what.
Oh, I'm sure there's Mortal Kombat.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, it's 5 horsepower and has a pull start. Fatality.
Remember how this was supposed to be a serious discussion?
F that. Seriously, if we have fun with this, people aren't gonna like it when they listen to it.
Oh, I mean, at this point, I'm already liking it. Oh, man.
He's talking to Warner Brothers about second season. He's stating that he always working on stories and would prefer to work with the same cast and crew. Season 2 would concern the 10th Mortal Kombat tournament, as was portrayed in the original video game, but with the story and
oh my gosh. I feel like I'm going to get copyrighted for using audio from Doctor Who. Oh, whatever.
Game and the first film. Also
bum
concerning
bum
second
bum
season, he
bum
spoke about
bum
the
bum
prospects
bum
of introducing
bum bum.
Goro and the method for which he could be portrayed believably. And
oh yeah, believably.
No.
Believably.
Yeah. It'll be
Believably.
two midgets standing on each other's shoulders. Forearms, roar.
The introduction of Cabal was also raised. He also has hopes for a movie confirming he has, quote, a very detailed treatment that plots out the entire storyline, end quote. Regarding the movie, he told IGN that it would not focus on trying to include as many franchise characters as possible the way the second film did. Warner's premier general, Matt
like, there was,
Eva said,
like, no joke, and I can speak about Annihilation. That they just did way too much with so little time. Because I know, like, with the first movie, I mean, they complete the tournament and then all of a sudden they hype up that, oh no, things are going to get worse. And the idea was, for Annihilation, was that it starts right off, like, just right after the events of the first movie. And it did, like I said, it did not go well.
David mooted television as a possible medium on which the series could continue. Why do they keep bashing this down? Why won't they just let him make the fucking movie?
Maybe they just know that, you know, a movie, a hard R Mortal Kombat movie would never do good in the box office because you're automatically eliminating all the, you know, 12 to 18-year-old kids who play the M-rated games regardless of their age.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that you're eliminating an entire bracket of people who have disposable income, the movie watchers. I mean, you know, teens and kids spend a hell of a lot of money on movies. So to make a hard R-rated movie, there's no way that they could ever make that fly. So maybe it's more profitable to put it on HBO or something like the Dexter series.
I love that show. But I call bullshit with the whole rating system. It's like my little cookie theory with a 3-year-old. You tell a 3-year-old, you cannot have this cookie. That little bastard's going to do everything he can to go get the fucking cookie.
Yeah.
Just because you told him he can't see it. It's the same thing with films. Kids are like, ooh, an R-rated film, I could get in trouble. I must go see what the big deal is. They're still going to see the damn movie.
Yeah.
My ears are bleeding.
Sorry. Well, I say we just go back to Rebirth, let him make it the damn movie, and call it a day.
But I think we've reached that point where there's no going back from Legacy. I mean,
in terms of what Star said just now, I mean, unfortunately, the biggest back in the day, I mean, like, I want to say way, way back in the day, you had people who, just made films, didn't give a crap about, what was in the films. I mean, hell, some of the, like, I can't watch any, like, current day horror films because they don't reach the level of, like, disturbing as some of the earlier history-wise earlier horror movies. A lot of them, and I think the worst thing I want to say about horror movies is that they rely heavily, like just heavily, on jump scares. And that's not a proper way to scare people. I mean, yes, you're going to get a jolt, but it's not scary. It's just a loud, frightening noise, and sometimes after like the 10th time, it just gets fucking annoying. Me myself, I enjoy a lot of the black and white, like old school films. I have, like, recently, I rewatched the House on Haunted Hill, with Vincent Price as the main lead, and oh my gosh, that movie, to me anyway, that movie still holds up. I mean, it's so creepy, and with what little they had to make it, or like around that time where like technology wasn't as great, like what they did and the strides they took to make a scary horror movie was done incredibly well. Stuff like, I want to say, like, as time has progressed, movies that really like affect you, like let's say Deliverance, and oh my gosh, Deliverance, the original, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, The Hills Have Eyes, Duel, like a lot of films that, for the most part, just create these unbelievable experiences. Don't rely heavily on some kind of jump scare, but to a great extent, just create scenarios that are scary for people, are more effective in my eyes. Anyway,
if he wants to keep going with this, he's gonna have to take the existing Legacy stuff and find some way to tie it into the next season or movie or whatever he's doing, next TV show, whatever. And the quote unquote quality of Legacy is gonna cripple the entire series. I mean, it's like, you're trying to plow around a rock. It's hard to get the lines straight again.
So do you think, even after Legacy, if they went this way in Season 2, do you think it's too late for Kevin to go back to how Rebirth was and, like, have the tournament be like that? Or
I think
the fantasy in it? I think
the only way you can save a future project is to go back and add more to Legacy. Turn these 10-minute episodes into 30-minute episodes, reshoot, with the characters and stuff, and add 2 things. And maybe you can kind of bridge the gap, because it's going to be a hell of a wide gap.
I don't know when he's gonna come out with 2. Are you guys looking forward to 2? Are you gonna bother with it? Are you not gonna bother with it? I'd like to believe I'll check it out just to see what the hell he decides to do now. But if I had to pick absolutely right now, I could go either way.
Yeah, same here. It's right now it's hit or miss. Unless he says that there's gonna be the tournament, it's gonna somehow tie up with Rebirth, then I might actually give it a look. But if it just continues like this, backstory after backstory after backstory, not so much.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, well, I'm a Mortal Kombat nerd, so this stuff might crack. I know it's bad for me, but I'll watch it anyway. But one thing we kind of didn't touch up on, I guess Star kind of started touching up on it, but if you notice that each character arc that he's made in this 9-episode miniseries, each one has a different look and feel. One's like, all action, that's the Jax, Sonya, and Kano episode, and then jumps to Johnny Cage, which is more like a documentary style, and then Katana Melina is fantasy beyond all likability, and then Scorpion Sub-Zero turns into what looks like, an old what's his name, Akira Kawasaki, god damn it.
As Kanoe, he knows.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ask Ono. But it looks like an old samurai epic, like the Seven Samurai.
So I want to say it's almost like an anthology. That's what it sounds like, where you have, let's say, in terms of like, I want to say like kind of like perfect examples would be the recent Secret Level on Amazon, movies like Dante's Inferno, and oh my gosh, there was another anthology that involved like a series or something. I can't remember. It's like I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but with a lot of the anthology stuff. Oh wait, no, actually, if anything, Star Wars, because they did that whole anthology thing with them, where you have different episodes, each in a different style and a different style of animation, and then each person just kind of doing their own thing in terms of story. That is at least what the guys here at CheshireCatStudios is kind of describing. Is this felt like an anthology.
I mean, it kind of has that flavor until you get to the magic bullshit, but it does have that atmosphere, which is cool. And then Cyrax's sector is just Transformers, all action, no substance.
Oh my gosh!
An episode like.
Oh, we keep forgetting about, don't we?
Kind of like the modern superhero films, I suppose.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Raiden's basically kind of like the Dark Knight take on the Mortal Kombat series. Edgy, gritty, a little bit psycho.
A more relatable Thor, probably.
Yeah,
more relatable Thor.
But it looks like he's trying to experiment with different genres, see which one people like the most.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just felt that those genres fit better with those characters.
But he would still eventually have to bring all these characters in the same room, and if all of them come from different genres, different styles, looks, or even universes, who knows? It's kind of gonna be a kind of like a clusterfuck.
That's what I was gonna say. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Eventually, they're gonna have to bring all these different genres into the same room, which I guess the Mortal Kombat games do, but the Mortal Kombat games don't have a hell of a story either. They're not movie material.
True.
But to make a decent movie or decent miniseries that have all these different genres, he's got to pick one.
Well, everything seemed to be plausible that all the other episodes were in the same world except the Katana Millennium episode, because that literally took place on a different world. So, but everything else could seem plausible that it is in the same universe.
More or less.
Yeah,
more or less.
The Scorpion Sub-Zero one was kind of low tech compared to the Jackson, Cyrax, and the rest of those guys.
Well, it was in the past. So
Yeah, that too.
Was it?
Yeah, I would assume anyway. I mean, the way they were living, the lifestyle, the clothing, it screamed past to me.
But how Scorpion's obviously dead, and he's a Spectre coming back to get revenge. But how in the hell does Sub-Zero live for 400 years?
Well, remember that still shot from Rebirth where Scorpion had sort of like a cryo suit or something?
That was awesome.
Yeah, maybe so he lives on through the cybernetics or something.
Kind of in a refrigerated state, like like you'd stick like an apple in the refrigerator, it won't rot quite as fast. That might work. I mean, it's a decent angle. I mean, it's better than what we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
But if this does take in the past, where the fuck did he get that technology for back then?
Oh, in the 1800s, he had this steampunk-looking thing going on. Looked like he's beat.
Oh no, I can't. Hold on.
Will Smith up and shit on a giant mechanical spider, and
oh my gosh, they're gonna get me in trouble.
So bad, getting Wild West in there. Ugh.
I don't know.
That movie was, I want to say that movie's hit and miss.
At this point, I'm kind of thinking it's kind of on par with that.
Well, maybe it's not the same Sub-Zero. Maybe it is a descendant.
Well, he has a brother, but
I mean, it kind of hinted at the fact. I mean, as far as I saw with the some earlier iterations, it did seem like the title of Sub-Zero was passed down from person to person. So more likely, it's not even the same Sub-Zero. It's more likely a somebody who is, a descendant of the name, so to speak.
I doubt he would be that much younger.
Yeah, 20 years is gonna make a whole hell of a lot of difference over the course of 400.
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's a descendant. Maybe it's not the exact same guy. It's just that rare chance in the lineage where you have that exact dead-on same look-alike as an ancestor.
Yeah, and all the planets did align, right?
Yep.
Possible. It's a little out there, but it's still possible.
How would you personally rate this series?
So, okay, what would you guys give the series overall on a, I don't know, 10-star rating?
It depends on for what. I mean, you gotta judge the storytelling against the cinematography. It's hard to say. It's hard to give it one number. You have to kind of rate each one differently. So I'd say we do that.
Okay, so let's start with the obvious choice, the fight scene, seeing how it's based on a video game, a fighting video game.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say maybe a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give it probably about a 9 because I wasn't really impressed by the shooting stuff in the Jack, Sonya, and Kano episodes though. But the fighting in
G.I. Joe, the new movie.
Yeah, exactly. The fighting in Sector Cyrax episode was.
Oh my
good.
gosh!
I mean, it was really good. Even though it's CGI, it's still based on actual moves. So
yeah, it was probably the best in the entire series.
Right. So I give it a 9. It's action.
Yeah, no, probably about the same thing. I was actually going to give it like an 8, 8.5, but...
Then why'd you let us change your mind?
You guys always change my mind. You guys always point out stuff I don't think about or didn't notice until you guys pointed out.
Seems to be a lot.
Bastards.
Master.
Alright, so I guess my biggest hang-up with the entire series was the story-driven stuff and the character development. So what do you guys give that?
It's all broken up. I don't know if I could pick it. Because I was still hung up on Rebirth. I'm still hung up on Rebirth. So that's what I wanted. I didn't get it. I'm pissed. So I want to give it kind of a low rating.
Something like a 5 out of 10, probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna say about 5.
I give it a 4. I mean, it's not par. It's just bad storytelling. It's strictly action porn, just like Transformers movies.
Wait, how many actually good episodes were there? Johnny Cage, Raiden, first part. Yeah, about 4. So yeah, 4 out of 10.
Yeah, it's about a third of the episodes are actually good. So I give it I have dropped mine down to a 3 then.
Oh my god.
So what's the next part up? Cinematography or?
Cinematography, the camera angles and the settings and the mood and stuff. I'd give it probably
editing,
about. I'd honestly give it about maybe a 7 because there's some really good editing and stuff in there. Like the backgrounds for the Scorpion Sub-Zero episodes are awesome, beautiful freaking settings. Jax and Sonya, they had really cool looking underground factory looking thing, and it still retained a kind of a dark and gritty look, but it just wasn't good story wise. So I'd give it maybe about a 7 for the choreography or goddamn cinematography. There we go.
Pretty much same here. There were some truly beautiful shots, like say the scenery in the Scorpion vs. Sub-Zero episode. The Raiden one looked good, especially in a kind of horror setting, in the asylum mental. Everything was dark, good stuff. So yeah, probably a 7, even maybe a 7.5.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Same thing. And I thought the acting was okay. I can't recall critiquing it too bad.
I like the casting for the most part, and I liked how they casted Michael J. White for Jax because he's awesome. He does all his own fighting stuff in his movies like Blood and Bone and stuff. He was a great choice for Jax. Scorpion was another good choice. I mean, he just had that. He came across as a good actor. Now a lot of people complained about Sonya. I mean, the lady who played Sonya is the same lady who played. Oh, God damn it! What was the Star? I'm not a Star Trek geek, so I don't know.
7 out of 9 or something like that.
7.
Huh.
People are always complaining that this Sony is too old looking, and I'm like,
really?
she's still freaking good looking. I mean, what's the hang up?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Ryan is a beautiful woman, and
I didn't realize that was the same actress. Oh my gosh.
She looks tough, like a secret agent should look like.
Yeah.
I mean, she kind of reminds me kind of like, last season of X-Files, Dana Scully. I mean, she's a seasoned agent. I mean, she's not like, some teenager just got off the cheerleading squad.
Like she was in the second film, in those shirts.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
The first one like that. But the thing is, she can actually also fight. Which is
that's important.
It's something that the Sonya from the very first Mortal Kombat movie could not do for the life of her. I mean, seriously, she was holding out her arms and people are running into her. I mean, that's how bad that Sonya was. I'm not even making that.
Yeah, the choreography, the fighting was bad in that.
But her fighting scenes were just absolutely unbelievably bad. I mean, she couldn't fight for the life of her. So this Sonya is definitely a step up.
Sonic, good. Let's move on to other characters.
Not much about Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero is just kind of in and out, so...
Yeah.
We haven't actually seen the real Sub-Zero, have we? I mean, it was Quan Chi all this time, right?
No, I think the one that fought Scorpion at the beginning, or at the end of the first episode, is the real Sub-Zero, but the one that killed the family is Quan Chi.
Ah, but wait, if so, then what happened to the original one?
No, it looks like Scorpion handed him his ass, and then after that he just kind of got knocked out and then woke up at the end, but that was it. There was...
He just decided, "Ah, screw it, I'll go home."
Yep. Oh man, he took my lunch money, I'm going home. Skeet, yes, I'm going home. The one we didn't talk about was Kano. The guy who played Kano was freaking awesome, I thought. I mean...
That was Mr. Darren Shalavy.
I thought he played a convincing bad guy. I mean, he's like... He kind of had one of those, like, foreign accents, which is kind of the staple of Kano. But it was... He just looked threatening. I mean, you know, not quite as scary as like the Joker when he's holding the knife up to Jerry Ryan's face, Sonya. But you know, he was definitely threatening, and he could fight too. So.
And he had that attitude. He had that attitude, like he thinks he's all that. And,
Yeah.
You know,
He doesn't think it. He knows it. Striker. You guys have seen him in stuff than I have.
Well, I know the actor. I've seen him in Battlestar Galactica. He was great, but in this series, he
play in
had,
Battlestar?
like 2 or 3 lines, and they only addressed him once, like said, "Striker, go do shit" or something.
Yeah.
He was telling Jay White to, "No, you're not going." Yada yada yada.
Oscar-worthy
He was
material.
being the pencil.
Oscar- okay, that
the book
funny.
You know, goes by the book.
Now, there's also a lot of controversy about the Johnny Cage character, saying that he kind of looks a little skinny and geeky for being Johnny Cage. What do you guys think?
Doesn't really matter as long as he's a good character. Bruce Lee wasn't as pumped up as, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and still he could kick
True.
everybody's ass.
Yeah. Plus, the look between the Johnny Cage character in Rebirth and Legacy, it's the same character, but he looked cooler and more, you know, down and out in Rebirth than he did in Legacy. Legacy, he did kind of look like that, a little scrawnier and a little geekier, kind of like Peter Parker.
Oh, which one? The Tobey Maguire or the new emo kid?
Tobey Maguire. I'm not even going to go with that Twilight look like.
I thought he was fine. I rather had seen Legacy Johnny Cage than Rebirth Johnny Cage, because everybody's always just kicking his ass, and he's just this big bitch who just always ends up taking it. So
He actually died there, so...
Yeah, true.
It
I do remember that.
Will never happen.
I think that was like one of the details I heard about Legacy and Rebirth is that, yeah, he died in that version.
In Legacy, because remember, Baraka is no longer the cool Baraka, he's just the Freddy Krueger wannabe.
Yeah.
I thought the Mad Doctor was interesting and different.
It also had kind of the realistic, you know, twist to it. I mean, I don't know. People complain about it being, you know, Baraka with the dreadlocks, and you can't please everybody, and that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, because who cares about some actual character depth? No, the hair. That's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to have no depth, and he's got to look exactly like the video game counterpart.
Just like in Annihilation.
Oh man, those rubber masks were so.
Oh my
fucking
god,
bad.
that.
I mean, you do that those Goosebump books, and there's that one about the putting on the scary mask, and on the cover it looks just like fucking Baraka.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Alright, let's see. Any last words?
But we're getting derailed here, and maybe it's probably time to hang it up and call it good. Anybody else have any closing comments?
Laughing Man's closure.
Well, where I see Kevin T dropping the ball is in failing to realize that the purpose of giving video games life in a movie is to come up with new imaginative ways of giving depth to characters who are only iconic for ripping out each other's spines. One of the very appealing things about the Mortal Kombat Rebirth trailer was the potential to reinvent and expand on the histories of each of the combatants. Even fodder characters like Brock and Reptile, for all of you who've played Mortal Kombat 9 story mode. Brocco was a failed doctor who gone psychotic, and Reptile was a serial killer with birth defects. I mean, holy crap, there's something new and interesting. And not only that, but it's compelling because there's an enormous potential for character development.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool story arcs that could be explored just by this alone. But no, outside of some flashy gunfights and some really cool hand-to-hand combat, I've essentially seen 9 episodes of nothing that Mortal Kombat fans like myself don't already know, and it's presented in such poorly developed stories that it doesn't bring a non-Mortal Kombat player up to speed. You know what, I take that back. I've seen 6 episodes of nothing that Mortal Kombat fans don't already know, and 3 episodes that really kicked my ass and impressed me at the same time. The Johnny Cage episode was the most complete storyline of all 9 episodes because it chronicled the tragic but ultimately satisfying rise and fall of an action movie icon, kind of like akin to Van Damme and Steven Seagal. Raiden's episode was an excellent short story about a god turned mortal, falling to earth, being persecuted, dying, and being resurrected. I mean, it was like the Mortal Kombat equivalent of the life of Jesus Christ. The first episode of the Scorpion vs. Sub-Zero episodes was amazing in like a Yojimbo or Rand sort of way, but then it fucked it up by turning Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in episode 2 with all the ice throwing and the fiery heads and all that kind of crap. Jack, Sonya, and Kano's episodes were cool to watch, but they don't explain shit about the characters, while Kitana and Melina's episodes are Kill Bill clusterfucks with the most non-intimidating Shao Kahn I've ever seen before in my life. And finally, Kevin T completely missed the chance to turn the story of Sector and Cyrax into a tale of losing one's identity and soul in exchange for some incredible fight scenes and special effects. As much as I want to blame the 12-minute episode lengths for the lack of proper storytelling, there's also jarring fantasy elements like the Sub-Zero and Scorpion fight, which despite Kevin T's promises of making magic and superpowers tasteful, they're still ill-utilized in comparison to Mortal Kombat Rebirth. Kevin T is phenomenal with fight choreography, and he's got an eye for style, and he's got the ability to tell a captivating story, as we've seen with the Mortal Kombat Rebirth trailer. But Warner Brothers, the current owners of the Mortal Kombat franchise, got involved, and it's like Kevin T's unique vision and his better judgment were completely hijacked due to the WB wanting to protect their IP. You know, I'm still going to watch Season 2 if and when it comes out, because Mortal Kombat is still my crack cocaine. I mean, I freaking love this stuff, but I'm not going to have any expectations for it. I mean, it's like the tagline for that movie Mortal Kombat Annihilation, destroy all expectations. Yeah, we all know where that led.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to hope for the best.
What did I think of Mortal Kombat Legacy overall? Well, overall, it's entertaining, but Rebirth just set the bar so high that what Legacy gave us really was nowhere near it.
It wasn't, yeah.
And it's beating a dead horse at this moment, but I really wish that, you know, Kevin had just continued Rebirth. I wanted to see where that story went, where that plot went, where those characters went. Legacy, again, still entertaining, but depending on your point of view, if you criticize plot, story, characters, you know, it may not be that entertaining to you. If you're a little bit more humble or simple about it, was the fighting great? Yes. Were the different types of stories, in a sense, he was telling entertaining? Yeah, it was different. Like, you know, animation for one story, a reality TV show for another, a action blower-upper for another. Am I gonna see the continuation if it gets to do that? Yes. If nothing else, not necessarily because it's my crack like Laughing Man, but because I am curious to see what's gonna happen. Is Kevin gonna, you know, be more what we think that he wants to go with this, or is it going to be what we think was going on and the studio kind of took control, telling him what he can and cannot do? It's not like I regret watching the series. At least I can say that much. But hopefully next time around, maybe we can get a little bit more similar to Rebirth than we did for Legacy.
I mean, it does seem like there's a lot of expectations for it. Like, a lot of expectations.
I'd believe if there's one thing this whole Mortal Kombat Legacy fiasco has taught us, it's that you should never, and I repeat never, sacrifice your own artistic vision for something a lot more lackluster and mundane, cause trust me, no matter how sweet those 15 minutes of fame might feel, you and everyone else who shared the aforementioned unique vision will never be able to get rid of that unsettling, overwhelming sensation that you could have done a lot more.
I will say, I mean, and especially with like current day, there does seem to be a change with people kind of pushing back, but for a while now, there has been a situation where you have individuals that want to create content, that want to create, like, you know, good video games, good stories in shows, whatnot. But unfortunately, some of the, I hate to go political, but it does seem like a lot of like the decision making for the shows is determined by unconsequential like scenarios or topics. That, of course, being, you know, whether or not it's diverse enough, whether it is there is enough, and I'm gonna say this. I know people are gonna try to use the buzzwords to try to counteract what I'm about to say, but you know, with a lot of shows, like, oh, you need to have enough people of color in the show. You need to have enough women in the show. You need to have enough people that are transgender in the show, that are part of the LGBTQ. It's like, it's, even though like like that in of itself, like regardless of who you have as your characters, is again very, very, very inconsequential, especially when the importance of a character is if they're written well in the story. Not that they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, you know, man, woman, gay, straight, trans, whatever. You just create a character for the story. That's it. That ultimately, that is what needs to be done for, you know, stories. And like I said, at a time for I want to say for the last few years, that has been the motivation, especially with the fact that you had organizations and companies go out of their way to try to shut production companies down because they didn't conform to those types of ideals, where the people are hyper focused on diversity instead of, you know, creating a decent piece of content. And for the longest time, you had organizations that were just completely scared of losing their losing the money because they didn't conform to certain ideals.
Last year, young aspiring film director Kevin Tincheroin took the world by surprise with his gritty, never-before-seen take on the Mortal Kombat game franchise. The original Rebirth trailer might have been only 7 minutes long, yes, but in that short time, not only did it manage to tell a compelling story and reinvent the entire Mortal Kombat mythology, but it also got people like me, who previously couldn't give any less shit about anything even remotely related to Mortal Kombat, interested in that world, its history, and characters. Unfortunately, despite Rebirth's phenomenal success on YouTube and massive support from the die-hard fans who had been waiting for a serious, grown-up treatment of their beloved game series for ages, Warner Brothers, in their eternal wisdom, still decided that Kevin's vision was a little bit off message and told him to cut out all the interesting character arcs and subplots and basically dumb the whole thing down to something that's guaranteed to cater to the tasteless, simple-minded 12-year-olds that make up most of the Mortal Kombat's current fan base. Whether or not Kevin T fought till the end for his beloved creation, or if he was ready to disown from his own vision from the moment go as long as the price was right, doesn't really matter though, because even if he was forced by the studios to abide their rules, as evidenced by the prologue text in the beginning of episode 6, it doesn't change the fact that Mortal Kombat Legacy just isn't very good. One of the major things Legacy gets flack for is its piss poor characterization characterization, and I tend to agree. Outside of the Johnny Cage and Raiden episodes that not only properly introduced the said characters, their backstories and motivations, but also gave you a clear idea of their role in the grand scheme of things, none of these 9 episodes actually bothered to explain what the hell is going on and how are all of these people connected to each other. I mean, honestly, if you hadn't known who all of these characters are, would you have ever guessed that, say, the Jack, Sonya, and Kano episode is supposed to take place in the same universe as the Scorpion and Sub-Zero one? Yeah. My point exactly. The series is just so disjointed that it's virtually impossible for a non-Mortal Kombat fan to make heads and tails of the entire thing. So, no overarching story to connect all of these episodes, piss poor characterization, and some of the most cliched writing I've seen in my life, and trust me, I've seen some pretty repulsive crap in my days. Add all of that together and what do you get? A half-assed web series that not only fails to live up to the legacy of its progenitor, but also serves as nothing more than simple fanwank. A spectacular fanwank with some impressive fight scenes and scenery mind, but fanwank nonetheless. One more thing. Mr. Tincheroyan, if you're listening to this right now, please know that we Rebirth fans are still waiting for the promised proper follow-up to the original trailer. Oh, and before you say anything,
we'll get our goddamn movie one way or another, pal.
Nah, I'm just messing with you. I mean, it's already been over a month since we originally recorded the discussion and, well, guess what? So far we haven't done jack shit. Still, you've gotta admit I did sound kind of badass back there, didn't I? Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's time to wrap this up and call it good. So, thanks for watching. We sincerely hope that you enjoyed this little modest presentation of ours, and stay tuned for any possible future installments, I guess. So, yeah, that's about it. So, see ya.
Okay. I will say, like, was there anything extra? Okay. I think it's just like an end card, but oh my gosh. So that was a really interesting discussion. I mean, like I said, I initially coming into this, I had no, like, besides what I've seen in the trailers like years ago, I had no prior knowledge. It does seem like, especially with what they were talking about, like, there's things that they enjoyed and some things they didn't. Like, they appreciated, like, some of the earlier content of this project, but as time has progressed with the later content, it didn't meet their expectations. And overall, it just, again, I mean, ever since it came out, I still haven't watched it. So maybe it's about time I did, but we'll see. Anyway, for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it if you guys can. Please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys will follow us on social media, it's all in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care, and I'll see you guys next video.